Hey guys, welcome to Mercy's virtual craft camp. Today we are going to be making t-shirt bags. So it is a no-sew bag, which could be helpful because not everybody probably has a sewing machine or knows how to use them, and you may not know how to hand stitch either, so this is super easy. And we're going to upcycle some old material. We're going to take a t-shirt that you don't want anymore and we're going to make something better out of it. I think the bags look better if you have a solid color shirt, but it really doesn't matter. Just know that on the front of the shirt, you're going to be cutting down. So a lot of the images on t-shirts are right here. And for t-shirt bags, you would probably be cutting into that logo or whatever that might be. So a solid shirt is great, or if you don't mind cutting into that logo, then you're good to go. The bigger the shirt, the bigger the bag. So if you have a parent that is willing to part with a shirt, or a grandparent or friend or whomever, that would be great just to have a bigger shirt. So what you'll need, sharp pair of scissors, you'll need an old t-shirt that you're willing to cut, a pen or a marker, because we need to mark the spots that you're going to cut. And then I like to use a big bowl just to help me mark my spots as well. That's going to sit on the shirt and we're going to trace it and we're going to cut out part of the bag. Okay, so let me move my camera so you can see the shirt that I'm working with, because you don't really need to see me anymore, but you definitely need to see the shirt. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, that's good. So you want to make sure that your shirt is even. My shirt is just a basic shirt. The bottom ends meet up. Make sure your shirt is the same, where the bottom ends will meet up. I know some shirts now are short in the front and longer in the back. If they're off just a little bit, it's fine, but if they're pretty drastic, it's going to be hard because we're going to cut all of these end pieces and tie them together, so we want them to be about the same length. Okay, so I've got my shirt, and I'm just making sure that all of the edges are lined up, my shoulders are lined up, and the first thing I'm going to do is cut the sleeves off. Got it lined up. Here it is. And if you want to draw with your marker, you can. I don't think it's absolutely necessary here to do that, but you can see where the t-shirt is stitched through here. We're going to cut that whole stitched part off. So if you want to cut through both sides at the same time, you can. That's fine. Or if you just want to take your time and cut along the edges to make sure that you're getting all the parts that you need. I'm going to start in the armpit part. And just again, be careful, they're scissors, they're sharp. Okay, so I'm going to get that little hole started, and then I'm going to cut right along the seam, and I'm just cutting this part off. And I'm just going to flip my shirt around so that I can get the back side as well. And again, you might have some rough edges, but that's okay because you can go back later and you can straighten those out if you would like. Or sometimes this t-shirt material just kind of folds on itself and you don't really even notice those little frays. Okay, so I've just cut my first sleeve off. So you can see when I hold it up, I'm just missing a sleeve. I'm kind of making a tank top here. We might go in later and extend the holes. You just kind of have to play around with it and see the best fit for you. But I like to start small because you can always start small and go bigger, but you can't go big and come back because once you cut it out, it's gone. So I like to just cut the sleeve out first, and then sometimes I'll go in later and make this hole a little bit bigger because these are going to be the straps to your bag. Okay, now I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut the other sleeve off. And I like to start at the armpit. And just make sure you get all of that seam off. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about a seam, where the material is sewn together, that's your seam. And I just wanted that whole part cut off. So there's my second sleeve. Okay, so now when you look at the shirt, I now have a tank top. These are going to be the armholes for my bag. So I would wear my bag like this. So for my shirt, it's smaller. I cut the armholes out, but this is a little bit too tight for me. I'll need bigger armholes, so I'll cut somewhere out a little bit later. But again, I don't like to do that right away. Now here's a part where you have to really pay attention, because if you cut too much off, then you're not going to have straps for your bag. So these pieces up here, these are going to be the straps for your bag. You don't want these to be too narrow, because then you're not going to be able to put much in your bag. Your bag won't support it and it will end up ripping. So just make sure you have maybe 2 inches on either side, because it will like roll up. So make sure you have about 2 inches on either side. Okay, so I said before I use a bowl. I like to use a bowl just to kind of help me, bring it back a little bit, help me measure. But again, make sure you have about 2 inches of material on either side. So if you need a bigger bowl, smaller bowl, if you don't want to use a bowl, you don't have to use a bowl. And make sure the back of your shirt and the front of your shirt both have 2 inches on the sides, because you need the straps to go all the way through. Okay, so I'm just going to take my marker and kind of mark along with the bowl. I'm even going to go a little deeper than the bowl, but it's just to help me eyeball it. Okay. So you can kind of see my little marks throughout. So I'm going to try to keep my shirt as flat as can be on the table, so that my front and back line up, so that I can cut it all off. You definitely need to go outside the seam of the neck. Outside the seam of the neck of the shirt. That will help you. So we're going to cut all of that off. Okay. And I'm going to go a little bit longer than where my armholes were. Again, just making sure that the front and the back are lined up. Okay, so since I went a little longer than the armholes, it's starting to look a little more like a bag. I'm going to go ahead and bring the armholes down a little bit as well, and just kind of line it up with the shirt. So I'm going to come in here. And if you don't want to do this part, you don't have to do this part right now. Okay. Get one done. Moving to the other side, and you can see here where this really should be aligned. So I'm going to cut this little section out right here. have our straps to our bag. Super nice. This is gonna fit a lot better on my arm, okay? So just make sure it's comfortable for you. But again, you don't want to cut the straps too skinny because it's not gonna support, and you don't want to cut them all the way through. Okay, now for the bottom, what we're going to do, I don't know if you've ever made those little fleece blankets where you cut the edges and then you tie them. That's basically what we're doing here. This shirt is like super folded because this is what the shirt always did to me, and I needed to iron it. I'm not going to iron right now, but if you wanted to iron your shirt, if you're having the same problem, that might help you out a little bit. And I'm not going to mark all of these when I cut them either, just because there's a lot of forgiveness here. But I do want to make sure that the front and back of the shirt is lined up. Okay. And I'm going to have it kind of stretched out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to turn this around so that I can actually cut. But what you're going to do is you're going to cut slits about 1.5 inches up every inch. So you're just going to have lots of slits in here, and you're going to go all the way across. Okay, so I turned it. Just again want to make sure that all of my edges are straight and aligned. Okay, so I'm going to start at the edge down here, and at this I'm just going to cut right at the seam, and I'm going to cut about 1.5 inches up from the seam. Okay, so I have about 1.5 inches. Now what I'm going to do is hold both pieces of material together, and I'm going to cut 1 inch from the side, 1.5 inches up, and then we're going to go another inch, 1.5 inches up. What I've had people do in the past is take a ruler, and you can like have a piece of paper out here and on a ruler have all of these markings so you know where to go. I actually have something that's pretty helpful. You may or may not have one of these at home. I rarely use it, but it marks things by the inch. So I'm just going to lay this here just to help me. But you don't have to do this by any means, and you can definitely use a ruler if you have it at home. And if you don't go exactly 1 inch, it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. You just don't want to go too skinny where when you tie it, it breaks, or too thick to where you can't even tie it. So 1 inch tends to work pretty perfectly. I think I'm going maybe 2 inches up, but you can just use your judgment on that. If you want, before you start doing this, some people when they make their shirts like to cut the seam off of the bottom, just like we cut the seam off of the arms and we cut the seam off of the neck. So if you want to cut the seam off of the bottom, you're welcome to do that. For me, I don't mind the seam, so I leave it here, but you are welcome to cut that off so that it kind of is uniform with the rest of the shirt. And just keep checking every now and then that both edges are lined up. And then when you get to the other edge, you're going to do the same thing that you did over here, where you just cut along the seam. And then here's where it might be a little different from those fleece blankets that you may have done before. With the fleece blankets, you line it up perfectly and you tie it. I like to shift everything over one, and I think that helps from preventing like little holes where things might fall out of your bag, and that's why we have that that little extra piece over here. So what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and tie a double knot. And then you go to the next one and you tie a double knot. And you can either do a double knot, or if you want to, like the fleece blankets where it doesn't look as like scraggly, if you keep the material together and then loop it and tie a single knot that way where the two pieces are together. I like it to look a little bit more frayed. That's why I don't do it that way, but you may want to cut more than 2 inches if you want to do it where you have the pieces together, because if not, it's going to be too difficult to do. So I'm just going to tie double knots through all of these. This is the most tedious part. It's the most time consuming, but it's kind of fun. Listen to music. Hope you all have been able to get out and enjoy some of the nice weather during quarantine. Just make sure when you're double knotting that you're getting things nice and tight. And in the future, if you're using the bag a lot, there might be a tie that comes undone, and all you have to do is retie it. Don't get rid of the bag. It can be super cute. If you used a plain bag, or a plain shirt, I mean, like this one, if you wanted to later, you could definitely go back and like paint something on it, something kind of cool, or I don't know, draw something on it with fabric markers, whatever you might have. I was trying to keep it simple because I don't know what everybody has at home, but I'm pretty sure everybody could find an old t-shirt at home. And if it's a long sleeve shirt, it doesn't matter because the sleeves are going to be cut off. So anything that is unwanted that can get some new life, that would be great. If you do decide to paint, there are lots of cute stencils that you could use, or even puffy paint. Puffy paint's kind of fun. I think that's kind of coming back a little bit. You can get glow-in-the-dark puffy paint to paint your shirt. And the end is near. I can feel it. It's coming. So close. So there we go. Got a nice little bag that I could use. I could take that to the grocery. I could get some produce in that. I could use it for anything. If I had a pair of flip-flops and an extra pair of clothes, if I was going somewhere, I could take it like that. What I like about this bag, you can go a couple different ways. So you can keep it like this, where you have the frayed end at the bottom. I like that look. I think it's cute. I think it's very like, I made this, it's handmade, it's cute and crafty. But a lot of people don't like that and they think that gives it an unfinished look. So if you want to, all you have to do is flip it inside out. If you flip it inside out, you don't have any fray and you have a nice bag that you can use. Now, if the shirt's like mine, it might have a little tag. All you have to do is cut that off and you are good to go. And then if the bag gets dirty, super easy. All you have to do is throw it in the wash because after all, it's a shirt and shirts are used to being washed. But there we go. Nice little bag. I could throw my duct tape that we're going to use in another craft. I can throw that in there. It will hold, but I can fit a whole bunch of stuff in my nice new bag. All right, I hope you had fun. I hope your bag turns out super cute, and I'm excited to see them. All right, see you in a little bit. Bye.